This all began with a dream my father had and was inspired to become a doctor himself. He made a promise to that doctor and to his family that I may leave to go to the US and advance my education and build a life, but I will come back and help save lives and serve my people.
When I reflect back on my journey, I see how it mirrors yours because some of the initial successes we had were exactly through the methods you described. You go to someone who you know, and they know someone who is ultimately a jewelry collector or a brand connoisseur, and that's how the credibility is built.
Yes.
Because you always need that trust and
Absolutely.
credibility with a big T and a C. Please share your gem of an insight. Welcome to Gems with Harakh, a podcast where luxury meets meaning and where the stories behind extraordinary people shine just as bright as the diamonds themselves. I'm Harakh Mehta, fourth generation jeweler, spiritual thinker, and founder of Harakh, a high jewelry house featuring the finest colorless diamonds and rare gems, guided by my Indian heritage and a deep belief in compassionate luxury. Each week, we go beneath the surface to uncover the rare qualities that make a life truly precious. I'm getting goosebumps. Oh my word. I'm grateful that you're here.
My motto in life is be kind and serve.
I mean, it makes me happy to make other people happy.
When we receive, we give, and it feels just as good to give.
I think that's exactly what this show is about. It's difficult to capture in words just how selfless, impactful, and kind this week's gem is. As the co-founder and CEO of the GeneCo Foundation, Afam Onyema has dedicated his life to philanthropy and is a champion of women's empowerment, health equity, and education access around the world. Through his selfless work and dedication to others, the GeneCo Foundation has become one of the most impactful organizations across the globe, transforming the lives of the poor and vulnerable in Africa. Afam was named one of the top 10 most influential Africans in the diaspora and has been featured on Forbes, Newsweek, and The Hollywood Reporter, just to name a few. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be with you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have somebody who is so forgiving, so charitable, so philanthropic, and so kind.
Oh, thank you so much. That's an honor. I'm deeply humbled to hear those words. And it's really just a tribute to the people we work with, and to be able to do this work with them is an honor. So thank you for having me and allowing me to talk a little bit about it.
So tell us a little bit about the work that you do. Obviously, your noteworthy events speak for themselves. But to get a little deeper into what motivated you, what got you on this path, let's start from your childhood. Was there anything that really inspired you to go on this journey?
Absolutely. This all began with a dream my father had. My father was born in Nigeria and was born in the 40s, and then in the 50s and 60s, he was going to school at a British boarding school. And there was a British missionary doctor, one of the few female doctors in the country at the time. Nigeria was a British colony. And she saw something in him and really took him along, and he learned medicine and was inspired to become a doctor himself. But he loved particularly how selfless she was. She had come over from a comfortable life in the UK to serve in Nigeria. And so he made a promise to that doctor and to his family that I may leave to go to the US and advance my education and build a life, but I will come back and help save lives and serve my people. So I met my mom, who's an emergency room nurse, and they came over to Chicago in the mid-'70s, and their plan was to stay no more than a few years and then go back to Nigeria. But I'm the second of 4 kids, and they realized we had amazing opportunities in the States, and Nigeria was going through so many challenges. Many, unfortunately, are still with and burdening the country to this day. And they said, well, it would be unfair to pull our kids from all these opportunities in the US to go back to Nigeria. So we stayed. My dad always told us about this doctor, about this dream. And as I got older, it really resonated with me to the point where I had gone to Harvard undergrad and then Stanford for law school and had this corporate law and then other dreams to take from beyond that. But I realized, gosh, a chance to really make an impact and to save lives and to learn about my own roots and my own homeland and to really be a source of good in that place was just so compelling. So I decided to take the leap, turn down my corporate law offers when I graduated in 2007, and I've been leading GeneCo ever since.
That's such a wonderful story. I mean, to actually follow your dream and to actually follow your father's dream and to make it your own dream And to make that the purpose and mission of your life, that requires true service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really, I love that. I tell people to have a life that's rooted in story, the power of story. It's not like there are those who do amazing things who, you're hired to work for a charity and you do great work, and then another charity presents a better opportunity and you move. And I tell people this is rooted in story. I'm not doing this because of the benefits or the compensation. I'm doing it because it's core to who I am, and it's core to who my family is, and I see it very much as a family story, and to be able to do it with my family, literally with my family, and anyone who comes along and supports us becomes a member of our family, that just keeps me going during the more challenging times.
That theme of family is so interesting because when you look around us, and let's face it, not many families are able to be united by a single mission. That's why so many family businesses break up, so many family feuds happen. In fact, I have to say, in my own family, we come from a long line of jewelers. So I'm a fourth generation diamantaire. And when I actually wanted to branch out on my own and still be part of the family umbrella, but do something a little different and launch our brand, which we launched in 2017, I felt humble at the support that my family had in me, and how we were able to integrate my vision into our own overall family business. So family is quite important, I would say.
It really is. And I think one of the things that I found so interesting when I tell that story to donors and friends, you see them reflect that story through their own family experience. And a lot of them will say, gosh, I couldn't imagine. I love my family, but we'd all kill each other if we worked together, right? Or
don't we know that feeling?
Right, exactly. I'm not saying, well, you don't know. It's not all Shangri-La and roses, and there are a lot of challenges. But it's interesting. People they say, I wish I could. It's a way to stay connected, right? I wish I had a way to connect with my siblings or with my father and my family beyond just kind of calls about the weather or what are you doing on the holiday season. To be able to join together, and your mission it's beyond your family. Your work. How do we work together to save lives, literally save lives, and to empower women and children, and all the things that we do, but also give each other space. I'm the sole member of the family who runs it full time, who works on it full time. So to be able to give me that freedom and that space to be able to do it, knowing that I've committed my life to it, but also be there as a support system, to be there as part of oversight as a board member. It can be complicated and complex, but in the end, if there's love at the base of it, then you're able to figure those challenges out.
Love always seems to be the answer,
Yes.
no matter what the question is. And I've heard that so many times. But love is also, I would say, what drove the whole roots of the GeneCo Foundation, right? I mean,
Yes.
love for the people of Africa, love to give back to your community, love to uplift others.
Yes, no, it's really love and service. I tell people that my motto in life is be kind and serve. You can't go wrong with being kind. In every situation, I try to think, what is the kind thing to do in this situation? How do I serve in this situation? How do I serve this person? And I may not always do it because we're fallible and we're flawed, we make mistakes, but to have that as a guideline and to know, okay, there's a standard I set for myself. I met it, fantastic. But how do I grow and continue? If I didn't meet it, how do I meet it? How do I reorient? But I think, gosh, this world could use some kindness and a sense of service. And I think that's what's kept me going in this work, is to be able to be guided by those two lights, those two kind of guideposts, and all I do with GeneCo and all I do outside of GeneCo as well.
Okay. So tell us more about GeneCo.
Sure.
What are some of the noteworthy activities that you'd like to share with our audience?
Sure, yes. So on the education side, we give scholarships to young female victims of terrorism and gender inequality. We partnered with an acclaimed actor, British Nigerian actor, David Oyelowo, who was the lead in Selma, and he's done many other things. And I met him 10 years ago, and this is back when there was a wave of kidnappings of girls from schools in Nigeria.
Right.
And he thought, we can't fight terrorists militarily, we can't do anything physically, but wouldn't it be a beautiful rebuke to what they're trying to do if we took these girls and put them right back into school and educated them? So we started this scholarship 10 years ago, and we provide full tuition for 6 years, as well as leadership training, And we do menstrual and mental health in partnership with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. We can talk about that later if you wish. That's amazing to be able to deal with them physically, but also mentally and spiritually. And then we do STEM education training, so learning about science and technology and engineering and math. And we also just recently did a creative arts summit where the girls got to experience dance and photography and painting and dramatic readings, and just really got to express themselves in ways that girls in Africa, and especially girls in Nigeria, never get to. So that's a wonderful project. And we support, so we have, the girls go to 4 different partner schools that we work with. We don't own or run them, but we partner with them throughout the country. And we started with 3 girls at one school. We now have 47 girls at 4 schools.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, and we hope to continue to grow that and expand that to hundreds of girls. And then on the healthcare side, we bring surgeons over to do medical missions. And so for years we did hip and knee replacements.
Okay.
And now we've transitioned to general surgery. So hernia repairs, appendix surgeries, tumor removals. We work on pediatrics, so young patients getting surgeries. And so we've done hundreds and hundreds of surgeries over the years. And then we also take 40-foot shipping containers and turn them into clinics. We equip them, make them fully solar powered so they can be off the grid, give them internet, and then put them in these really rough rural areas where it's very hard to get healthcare. And so women are now delivering their babies safely, children are getting
That's amazing.
vaccinated, women are getting their own healthcare, men are getting prostate exams, blood pressure checkups. They become community centers, so we want to gather communities to talk about community health issues or other issues. I mentioned the mental and menstrual health. We'll do a lot of our menstrual health work at these clinics, and so we started with 1 in 2020, and now we have 6. And we've recently received a grant from Melinda French Gates to be able to expand that significantly. So we're really excited about that as well.
And is this all within Nigeria?
All within Nigeria, yes. Nigeria, it's about 1 in 5 sub-Saharan Africans lives in Nigeria. It's about 200 to 250 million people. And so there's so much work to do there. And so I tell people we're kind of locked in with Nigeria because there's so much work and we know it. Now we're Nigerians, so not only do we feel that personal passion for it, but we know that we're just getting started. I've been doing this, as I mentioned, since 2007, so over 18 years now. I still feel we're just scratching the surface of the need, and we have a lot to do in Nigeria. So we'll probably always be a Nigeria-focused organization.
I love the fact that you're so laser-focused on exactly one area. In our branding journey as well, when we decided to launch our brand, I asked myself, what really inspires me? And the answer came again and again, India, India, India. And it's that going back to the roots and discovering that place which, holds so much special significance for you. Whether you are running a foundation, we're running a brand, or for whoever it is, it's that one, they call it provenance, I believe. If that's the place where you're connected or you're meant to be, you'll always somehow end up going there. So
Absolutely.
I love your story and how proudly you say it. And I can feel your passion as you speak about all the initiatives you're doing. But also I see the amount of work that you're putting in. It's not just, it's one thing to have passion and to be super excited, but to actually go be on the ground, partner with local people. You mentioned some of the most recognizable names in the world. So tell us, how does that happen?
Gosh, it's pretty, I look back on it, I'm like, I asked that question too. How did that happen? It's really, I think we start with, my first question I ask when anyone wants to support Jinko is, are they kind? They can be the most famous person in the world, but if they're unkind and not willing to serve with us, then it's not going to work out for either party, whether the celebrity or Jinko. And I'm just the least transactional person you're going to meet. And I just don't want to have those transactional relationships. And so it's just a great blessing to be able to, we run Jinko. I run Jinko from here in Los Angeles. And so you want to be able to invite this town to support you, right? And this town obviously is a center of entertainment and media. And so being able to get to some of these high profile people and realizing, gosh, if we work together with some people of renown, then I always told my dad when we were starting Jinko, and Nigeria has this, unfortunately, negative connotation about corruption and scams. And so I told him we're fighting both disease and doubt. And people are going to have a little bit of skepticism about working with Nigeria, but if they see, oh, if Oprah's involved and Jimmy Kimmel's involved and the Oscars are involved and Prince Harry and Meghan are involved, it gives them that sense of, okay, you know, there's some vetting there and there's some confidence there. So it was a very direct goal of ours to get people who, you know, kind-hearted but well-known people involved, and it's just been a great blessing, the response. And I think because they see that we're doing actual work on the ground, so we tell them this is something that's very tangible. It's not controversial. The need to be able to take care of girls, educate girls, is very compelling, and also to make sure women deliver safely and have what they need is very compelling. And so it's just been developing relationships and then, you know, earning trust over these 18 years. And again, just the response has been really overwhelming. And then also just realizing for me that whether I respect the fact that someone's well-known and famous, but like I'm still going to hold them to high standards. You know, if they say they're going to do something, I'm going to hold them to that. I'm going to challenge them to help us. And they actually appreciate that, because so many of them don't get challenged in their lives. So many of them they're not, there's a lack of vulnerability. And I think I bring a vulnerability and we bring a vulnerability to them. I think they resonate with that because it's like, wow, this is someone who's trying to save lives and finds it challenging, and we can talk about the challenges of life. And I treat them as human beings. I ask them about their lives, I ask them about their families, I ask them how they're doing beyond the fame and beyond what you may see on television or on a screen or online. And I think that's one of the great joys of my life, is to be able to develop these real relationships, not only with the incredibly famous, but just any of our donors. To have those relationships means the world to me.
That's such an amazing journey. And looking back, when you started on this journey, can you talk us through the first steps of how you stepped into this celebrity world? And maybe talk us through some of your initial successes.
Sure. Well, I'll start with the initial failures, because that was where it was a lot of failure. It was, I mentioned I moved from Stanford Law School to LA in 2007. And I definitely was very naive about how it worked. I thought I would just get there and you tell people you're doing a charity and all these celebrities would come flocking. And so I went to all the major agencies, talent agencies and PR firms, and told them, and I thought, you know, people would just love this idea. And this is back when we didn't have, I was just beginning Jinko. So basically it was a dream. There was we didn't have the scholarship, we didn't have the clinics, we didn't have all those things, but I had a vision of them, but I just didn't have them. And so I got some polite meetings, but then nothing would happen, right? And people would say they're gonna help and they wouldn't. And this town is, I love this town, but this town can be, I once said it can be built on a foundation of cotton candy sometimes. It's just very hard to get. Yeah. And like people say, yeah, exactly, yeah. They say things and it sounds sweet, and you realize there's nothing tangible behind it. So it's really just I just took so many years building relationships, and I realized you just build relationships with people, right? It's like the friends I met at the gym had connections that led me to some of our well-known names. Friends I had from college and law school, reaching out to some of my classmates, also alums, and beginning that. And just, I always tell people, you don't go directly if you want to get a celebrity involved, you don't go directly to them, whether it's through their agent or manager. You kind of find out who's in their world who can give you an introduction that automatically comes with credibility, right? So we've done a lot with actors, and we're introduced to them by their people who directed them in movies or produced their movies. And
Right.
people who edited their movies, right? Because they're people they know and trust, and they kind of open the door and you come through. And so just started with that, and I think it was really helpful for us to get, we started with kind of Nigerian affiliated or Nigerian actors. And so I mentioned David Oyelowo, Chiwetel Ejiofor, who was the lead in 12 Years a Slave, Oscar nominated for that. He was in the Doctor Strange movies. He's just been so acclaimed. I got to know him. And they just are so well regarded in this town and in Hollywood, and they started making introductions. I got to know people like Benedict Cumberbatch and Daniel Craig, and we got Oprah involved because David Oyelowo is
incredible,
which is still it's like to say that sentence is still kind of, it's like it doesn't feel real, but she's a dear friend and collaborator with David Oyelowo. They did The Butler together, they did Selma together, and David's just been wonderful in getting her involved. And she has her own school for girls in South Africa, so there's a synergy there. So having her, she was our first major donation for the scholarship in 2015. And then kind of literally 10 years later, we did a really wonderful fundraising dinner for her, with her in May of 2025. So it's wonderful. And again, just we're such a small little charity doing work in Nigeria. So sometimes you see these names and you see these connections, it's a bit dizzying. But I just realized in the end, it's rooted in how do we, no matter how fancy the name or famous the name, whether it's a Prince Harry or a Meghan Markle, in the end, it's what can we do together to help women and children in Nigeria, and men and boys in particular as well. And I think because everything comes from that angle, and again, there's a credibility, like we have a track record, so it's like, come and help us do this, as opposed to what are you guys all about? Like they see, oh my goodness, you guys have this track record and doing all this amazing work, and just kind of, and then keeping the relationship going and realizing this is not, we're not using you for your fame. We're a true member of our Jinko family, and I think that resonates with them, a lot of them, in a really deep way.
It's so interesting you mentioned this. As I was hearing you talk about credibility, trust, going through the people that, let's say, that know them. And that's exactly how, this is the celebrity world, probably one of the toughest worlds, at least in today's times, to actually get them to open up to you. But I see that that commonality between our worlds. When we launched a brand, while we were very well known in the jewelry and the diamond world, collectors didn't know who Harakh was. They didn't know what is this brand coming out of nowhere selling like these $100,000 pieces and things. And that's what I found. There was a lack of trust or credibility because of the unknown. In fact, that's when I reflect back on my journey, I see how it mirrors yours, because some of the initial successes we had were exactly through the methods you described. You go to someone who you know, and they know someone who is ultimately a jewelry collector or a brand connoisseur, and that's how like the credibility is built. Yes. Because you always need that trust, trust and credibility with a big T and a C. Absolutely, no. I think sometimes when people fail, they don't let those relationships naturally grow and build that trust and that credibility. I think sometimes people think, I have a great idea, or I have a charity, or I want to save whatever, and they just go for it, and they don't build that trust. They go straight to the ask. They go straight to the, and it feels transactional. And I tell people, you can go into a meeting and be transactional and get, $100 or $1,000. And that's all you're going to get from that person. It's like, okay, well, here's your go away money. Or you can say, I'm not here. I'm here to get to know you, and for you to get to know me. There was one of our really wealthy Wall Street supporters. I had a meeting with him, and we spent an hour talking, and we talked less about Jinko and more about just like life and working out and just things like that. And I'd follow up and give him advice and tips, and I would meet him again, and we had these conversations. And then it was probably a year and a half, 2 years before he made his first gift. And I remember, calling him and thanking him, and he said, you really pursued a relationship with me the same way I pursued one with my wife. Like, you just kept building in and following up, and you never pushed in the ask. He's like, we talked. It was very clear that you wanted me to support you, but you let me come at my own time. And I wanted to kind of feel you out, because you had, Harvard, Stanford Law, and you're doing this charity. And I wondered, if it gets tough, will he bail? If I give him this money and I check in a year, he gave that up. It was too hard. But the fact that you kept at it, and now he's a donor and a friend. I will just go to New York and just hang out with him. And he's like, and so I think that happens a lot with our donors. Like, I'll spend time with some major Marvel movie actors, and we spend a lot of time just talking about their kids and how it is in that crazy world, and what it means to be good. And I just love those conversations, and I love that, and it builds credibility and trust, and then to be able to say, because in Nigeria, things are just so complicated and difficult. Sure. And I tell people, we've gone through a lot of and again, I could spend an hour talking about how we failed and messed up and all that. But we've done that and learned. Let's hear those things, because those are the behind-the-scenes stories. I think the first thing, I think people think, you start a charity and all of a sudden money comes pouring in. I graduated from a law school. I knew nothing about fundraising. Right, like I had a whole different path, and so I'm literally learning, how do you ask for money? How do you budget? How do you run an organization? And so there's a lot of that learning process. And then, when we started doing our first medical mission, machines are breaking down and flights are being delayed, and
the hospital's on strike, and you're just dealing with problem after problem after problem, and it can feel overwhelming. And you have to constantly be worried about, how do I raise enough, not only to keep going, right, keep paying rent and surviving, but how do you raise enough so you can help more people? And so you kind of have this constant hum of, you want to build relationships, you want to take your time, but you do need to have resources come in the door. And so it's a balance between, again, building relationships, allowing credibility to settle in, but also we need to have a good year this year so I can help more people, or the girls that are in our scholarship, that tuition is coming due. They need support year after year. It's a 6-year program. So if we bring one girl in this year, it's 6 more years, right? I have to be thinking about getting her support. So for me, it's a lot of, I was figuring out how kind of a leader am I? How do I lead an organization? How to build an organization? What are our values? And I'm just so blessed that we have an amazing team in Nigeria. It's my cousin, Obi, he runs Jinko day to day in terms of its operations, in terms of day to day, the medical missions, the scholarship, and all that. And we just work really well together. He's hired and built a really great team in Nigeria.
Fantastic.
And so I see my job is to keep them going. What do you need? What do you need financially to make this happen? What do you need in terms of connections? What do you need in terms of vision and direction? And it's been amazing, and mostly young women in Nigeria. We're hiring these young women out of college and university, and they're just so dedicated and passionate. And I could not be happier with the team, what they're doing in Nigeria. They can handle a visit from Prince Harry and Meghan, and they can handle a medical mission. Right? It's just really, really. I'm so proud of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Welcome to HARAKH, where craftsmanship and compassion meet. Handcrafted with rare, colorless diamonds and generational traditions, each jewel is an act of conscious beauty. Experience luxury with purpose. Discover the collection at harakh.com.
Is it something that you're focusing more towards women, young women, or is it more towards anybody who requires aid?
Yeah, I'm really proud that we have programs that we reach everyone, right? So our medical missions, we've operated on 80-year-old men. We've operated on 2-month-old babies. And so the age-wise, the medical missions serve everyone. Our clinics also serve everyone. We do focus on safe deliveries and maternal health and child vaccinations. But when the parents, the father and maybe the young brother come to the clinic, they're like, oh, come over, let's get your blood pressure checked. Let's get your prostate exam. Because it's just really hard both in the U.S. and abroad to get men to do healthcare. And so they have kind of the clinics bring them in and say, well, you're here, you might as well just get a checkup, right? And so that's been really helpful for us. But my dad was an OBGYN, so the idea of safely delivering healthy babies will always be core to us. It's just very important. It's very important to society. It's devastating when a society loses a mother in childbirth or loses a baby in childbirth. It just breaks families apart. It breaks societies apart. So that's a huge issue in Nigeria. It has the worst maternal and infant mortality numbers in the world, next to India. And so it's really a challenge that we work hard on, and the Melinda French Gates grant allows us to do more in that, which we're really excited about. But yeah, it's something that, but then in terms of the young girls, which are part of our scholarship, they're just my heart. These girls are just so bright. They're so passionate. They've gone through so much, but they remain so resilient, and they just want to learn. They want to read Shakespeare. They want to play the piano. They want to learn physics. They want to build drones. They want to debate. And there's nothing that I wouldn't do to enrich their lives in terms of education, in terms of creativity, in terms of just healthcare, because they're not only it's a cliche, they're the future, they're the present. They're really the present. And I love that we get to do this. I'm so blessed that I met David at Yellow, and we had this dream, and then 10 years later, it's still going, because you have a lot of projects, a lot of ideas that, and to his credit, I remember telling him, because as much as we work with stars and celebrities, I do have a healthy skepticism of them, and more so, not because of their character or anything, it's just they're pulled in a million different directions, and then a lot of them will get a great idea, be passionate about it for a month, 2 months, a year, and then, okay, what's next? But then people like David and Chiwetel they're dedicated for life. This is the work of a lifetime. And they're always, I come to them and say, I have this idea, I know you know Cynthia Erivo in Wicked. Can we do something with her in Wicked? And then he makes one phone call and she's in, right? And it's just
Amazing.
really great to be able to not only I have the comfort to ask them, right? I'm not asking them and they're like, how dare you ask me to do whatever? Like they're like, okay, what can we do? What can we get involved? You know, we can't guarantee they'll say yes, but we can always do the ask. And so for me, it's just, again, having earned that relationship, right? Because it's one of those things where over years you show, okay, I got this person involved, this well-known person involved, and it worked out well, and they feel great about it. And I feel I can call Cynthia or I can call Daniel Craig or whoever and say, trust me, like this is an amazing organization, this is an amazing scholarship, an amazing school, an amazing clinic, and they want to support their friend, and they want to support their friend's homeland of Nigeria. So that's been really critical to our work, and we're just so grateful.
You speak about how celebrities get involved. You speak about the challenges of having, let's say, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle come, and at the same time, like a medical missionary come. It just seems to me that you found this beautiful intersection of what I call service and, let's say, quote unquote, glamour.
Yes.
And I mean it in a nice way. Like, you know, today in our brand itself, we have this like beautiful intersection of spirituality and luxury. And when these two seemingly paradoxical things come together, according to me, it creates magic. And I can certainly feel the magic as you were, you know, describing all these beautiful accomplishments that you've had.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's just such a, keep going back to the word blessing, because it really is, right? It's not, it's something I envisioned, right? When I started this full-time in the fall of 2007, and those were 2007, 8, 9, kind of that period was the most challenging, most difficult time of my life, right? Because you're building, you get up in the morning, it's like, all right, we'll start saving the world, start saving Nigeria, and you have no idea or plan, and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what constituted a quote unquote good day, right? I kind of go through a day and you're not being, you go to schools like Harvard and Stanford and you're just evaluated, you're judged, right? There's a grade, and you know where you're at, you know where you stand.
Correct.
You know, you go through a day with leading a foundation, you have no idea if it was a good day, right? You have no idea, you're not basing it on, well, I raised $10 today or whatever. And so I felt in a lot of ways unmoored, like just kind of not really connected. And so it wasn't until years in, I kind of just allowed myself to room to grow and to learn and to have and I also set a routine, like kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to have these goals. Like literally, what's my goal for this morning? What's my goal for this hour? I'm going to send this email, I'm going to have this meeting, and kind of breaking it down. It's not about saving the world or saving Nigeria. It's about having a really good coffee with this potential donor, right? It's about really going to this conference and learning, or doing this webinar and learning about fundraising, or learning about accounting or whatever, so I can be a good, better leader. So I just breaking down the task and the job, and then being patient and realizing that, again, because this is the work of a lifetime, I do have some runway, and like I'm doing this for a few years. I need to like really knock it out because I'm going to do something else. You know,
Sure.
It's really, the job has changed so much, but it's still, the mission is the same.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And as you were describing, like how you have like this beautiful vision that guides you, but you break it down into smaller bits, like bite-sized things that you can take on. So let's say today my task is like, you know, to ensure that, you know, the donor that I'm speaking to is convinced about our mission.
Yes.
And tomorrow it could be something completely different. So it's interesting how you have to, even though your vision is quite clear, it's interesting how you have to pivot every day.
Yes, absolutely.
To ensure that, you know, you're aligned with your vision. And as you said, that's a very interesting path, because it's not a straightforward path. Like, you know, you were in school in, you know, double Ivy Leagues, that you had, like, you know, you study for your test, you get your grades, and then you move on to your next course.
Yes.
There is no real path, except you have to forge one yourself.
Absolutely. It's all about forging your own path and then bringing along people to be with you, to be kind of companions on that path. I just realized the importance. I mean, this is literally the perfect example of not being able to do this alone, right? I tell people the clothes I wear, the gas I put in my car, the food I eat is literally a gift, you know, and I take that very seriously. Everything, no one has to give to Jinko, right? You can give to any charity if you want a tax write-off. You know, and there's no law that you have to give, and so every single gift is just, it's a miracle. and I just take it, whether it's $10 or $10,000 or $1 million, or someone who does something for us, calls in a favor, or does an event for us, or does something, in the Hollywood scene for us. I'm just so grateful. Or even just sending an email saying, "Hey, my family started giving me gifts for Christmas, give to Jinko," and just things like that.
Sure.
Because it really, you just realize like this thing just started with conversations with my family, kind of growing up, and then me taking this leap to do this full time, and then so many people coming along and saying, "I believe in." Well, just to give you an example, when I decided to turn down my law firm offers at Stanford, my classmates wanted to help put a fundraiser together for us. So my last year of law school, we had this big fundraiser at a hotel in Palo Alto, and 2/3 of my classmates came, and it was just packed. And I just have a vision of this picture that we took together. It's like all these classmates. And I remember one pulled me aside kind of during a break, and he said, "We're all here, and almost none of us can find Nigeria on a map, right? Like Nigeria, Algeria, like we don't know, right? But we're here for you. We believe in you. We're giving to you, right? Like we admire you. We admire what you're doing, and we know it's for good. We know you're making a sacrifice. So we want to help." And I've heard that. That was kind of the first time I heard that. I've heard that literally can't count how many times, right? Because people, it's a cliche, but it's so true. People give to people, right?
True.
Yeah,
True.
even for me, like I like to give to causes outside of Jinko, and I'm giving to my friends. My friend will do a cancer walk or run. I give to that. Or I have a friend who, does work for something in Zimbabwe, and I want to give to that. And so because I want to help them and show them I'm with you, even though I don't have as much to give, but I wanted to kind of show you. So you just realize that people are giving because they believe in you, and there is that sense of feeling good about doing something kind in a world that's so unkind. And so if we can be one vehicle of kindness in this world, then I think that's a blessing to others as well.
I love that. Throughout the conversation, the one takeaway I've had, if I can actually put it in just like one word, it's kindness.
Yes.
Kindness. And, as cliched as it sounds, it's true. The world really does need to be a kinder place.
Yeah.
It needs to have more kindness. And that's where compassion, empathy, gratitude, all those positive emotions come. So on the show, we have a tradition where we call, gems such as yourself to come and share with us what we call a gem of an insight, which could be, something from your life, like, some piece of wisdom, something that motivates, something that inspires, for our viewers that are watching, which, could be anything from your life. So please share your gem of an insight.
Gosh, I think like the first one I had already mentioned, and you mentioned it perfectly and wonderfully. Be kind and serve. I think that just people can think more about service and what can they give as opposed to what can they take, and reacting in kindness, even when you're faced with just staggering unkindness. That's important. But I also think like I love this story. I received an email, I want to say in 2012, and the title was "A Cry for Help." And I was so tempted to delete it as soon as I saw it, because I'm sure it's like, is this a scam? Is this someone? But I'm like, you know what? How many people see my emails and think, is this a scam, whatever? So I opened it, and it was this young Nigerian man, and he had horrible hip pain. Both of his hips were just in really bad shape, and he said that he had tried everything. He was an actor, but he had to stop acting, and he just was miserable. He had spent money on quacks and just literally witch doctors. And he said, like, I looked you guys up. I'm sending you this email, and if you don't respond, maybe I just take a bunch of pills and end it all. And so I'm like, all right, let me respond. And I said, okay, let me get your information, get your X-rays. Let's make sure this is real. And I remember sending his X-rays to our orthopedic surgeons who do our medical missions. And I remember the one surgeon said, I opened the first X-ray of his right hip and thought, this is the worst hip I've ever seen.
Oh, no.
And then I opened his left hip X-ray and like, no, that is the worst hip I've ever seen. So yeah, two of the worst hips. Oh. So we did one hip during our 2013 mission, and then we did his second hip in 2015. And I remember he was so grateful, and he was able, fast forward to now, he's been back to acting. In fact, he wrote a book on nuggets of Nollywood acting. Nollywood is the Hollywood of Nigeria.
Right.
And in the foreword, he wrote, I dedicate this book to Jinko, who saved my life.
Oh, wow.
And I still have that book on my bookshelf. And whenever so you deal with a lot of rejection in this job. We talked a lot about celebrities and the Oprahs and the royalty. You are just getting hit in the face every day with rejection, right? For everyone who says yes, there are 100 people who say no or ignore you.
Correct.
And so whenever I feel down about that, or like, why aren't we bigger? Why aren't we helping more people? Am I doing this the right way? I think about, I look at that book. I'll pull it out and like read the forward, right? And he still follows us on social media and cheers us on. And so I just think about him as a microcosm of all the thousands of people who have better hips and knees, have tumors removed, are getting their education as they're a girl, parents who now have kids who can be educated. So they have the pride of, my girl is now being educated. Kids who are learning about anxiety and stress through our mental health. All the different ways we're helping people in Nigeria. And I realize what a blessing it is. And it's just something that I want to do more of it. And so I guess the gem is when you're feeling down, like find an anchor of good, like something think about how you've made a positive change in someone's life. And everyone has. And it could literally just be you're a sibling or a parent, or you donated to a soup kitchen, or you did a run or a walk for a disease, cure for a disease, or you're just a good friend to a friend that day, And if you can't think of anything in the moment, just do something in that moment, right? Send a text. Like sometimes I'll just text my friends saying, "I love you," just checking in. No ask, just thinking about you. How's your son? How's or just find those moments of kindness. So I think the gem is think about people who have been kind to you, and then thinking about how you've been kind to others. And if you're finding trouble with either one of those, in that moment, do a small act of kindness to someone, and you'll just see how your perspective changes, your day changes, and hopefully, God willing, your life changes.
So what's your ultimate goal for the foundation?
Yeah, no, great question. I always tell people it's more. We spent years trying to figure out what is Jinko about programmatically, and tried different things. Some worked, some didn't, but now we're locked in on what we do, and I want to do more of what we do. So I mentioned our scholarship. We started with 3 girls. Now we have 46. Want to have 100. Want to have 500, 1,000. If money was no object, 10,000. Right, and just keep building up. It's a leadership scholarship, so it's all about how do we build up Nigeria's, Africa's, the world's future female leaders. So that would definitely be our number one priority, is getting more girls and supporting them in every way we can. And then we have the 6 clinics, the container clinics in Nigeria. I'd love to have 60 clinics, right? Because every clinic means hundreds of women who won't die in childbirth, whose babies won't die for needless, I call them just stupid reasons, right? Dirty water or vaccinations that they're not receiving. So just building more clinics, having more women come to those clinics, and then having more girls under our scholarship, and then continuing with the surgical missions. And so I just want to be able to do more. So I love the fact that after years we have programs that are working, that we are very good at doing, and now if we just have the resources, we can do more of them so we can reach more people.
Fantastic. And if somebody watching this wants to learn more about your charity, learn more about your foundation, and contribute to it, is there any website or is there any way to get in touch with you?
Absolutely, yes. So our website is www.jinko.org, and that's GEANCO.org. And they can find us on social media at JinkoFDN. So again, at GEANCOFDN. And they have my information is on our social media. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, and I post a lot about our work there, and Facebook, and all the kind of major social media platforms. But yeah, our website is our main portal, and people can feel free to look us up, and if they deem us worthy of support, we'd be honored to have it.
I'm sure that you're more than worthy of support, given all the wonderful achievements that you have. And I'm sure that whoever's watching this and wants to contribute would be delighted to do so. Well, for all of those listening out there, words of wisdom from one of the best gems. Be kind, and it doesn't have to be, you got to go start your own charity. You can be kind to the people around you. So I really and truly appreciate it. As a closing tradition on this show, we would like to present this little gold pouch. Inside it is a little diary, and Harakh in my native language means joy.
Oh, I love it.
As you know, and as I've also discovered, the best way to feel joy is to spread joy.
Yes.
So I've written a little note for you, and I hope that you continue to spread your radiance and continue doing the great stuff that you've been doing.
Well, thank you so much, Harakh. This is amazing. This is so kind of you. And it's interesting, I actually end all my emails with joy. No matter what it could be a question about an email about an audit or an email about whatever, but I want to make sure I just keep reminding myself about joy, joy, joy. So the fact that it makes perfect sense that your name, I'll say it makes perfect sense given who you are and what you do, that you're rooted in joy. And I want to thank you for having me. I want to thank you for this, and thank you for the opportunity to share Jinko with you and with your audience. It's been a great honor and blessing.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you.
I cannot thank you enough for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
To learn more about this week's guest and the Harakh brand, follow us on Instagram, YouTube, or visit harakh.com.